Hello Year 11, welcome to the A-Level Philosophy, Ethics and Religion course. I'm just going to talk you through about 5 slides or so, just to give you an overview of what to expect when you join us in September and what it is that you can be doing to prepare as best as you possibly can for the September start. So if you have a look at this first slide, it's including a few images of some of the key themes and topics that we're going to be focusing on. You can see obviously on the top left here we've got Le Penseur, which represents the philosophy component of the course. We've then got the trolley train, which some of you may be familiar with, which represents ethics, in particular how it is that we make decisions, what we need to consider, etc. And then we've got Buddhism here, which is the religion of choice for this course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through just each individual component in a few moments, some of the key topics that we look at, and introduce you to the assessment structure as well. So the key content really that we're going to cover is split up into 3 components. You can see on here, I've taken a screenshot directly from the Educas website, which is the exam board that we use and that we follow at A-Level. Component 1 is the religion and the study of a religion. As I've just said, the religion that we have selected is Buddhism, and that's predominantly because Buddhism is incredibly philosophical, as well as just being really cool and fascinating. So what that does is it kind of lends itself quite nicely to component 2, which is philosophy. So if you have a look at the component 1 for Buddhism, it says that there will be 4 themes within each topic. We've got your religious figures, your sacred texts, your religious concepts, your life and your practices. Ultimately, by exploring these 4 themes, you're going to get a really good in-depth knowledge of what it actually means to be a Buddhist and how diverse and vast the belief system actually is. So hopefully you're already looking forward to looking at that in more detail. Component 2 is your philosophy of religion. This is where we will touch upon the cosmological, the teleological arguments. As you can see on here, it says the inductive arguments and the deductive arguments. So what we're doing is we're taking a more sort of philosophical approach and applying philosophical concepts to these arguments themselves. We've then got challenges to religious belief, which includes the problem of evil and suffering, which you will be familiar with because we briefly explored it as part of the GCSE. Here we're going to be looking at the men behind these challenges and how it is that the problem of evil has been developed as an argument to challenge the existence of God, and how it is that believers have defended his existence even though suffering and evil exist. And then we've got religious experience, where we'll be looking at miracles, we'll be looking at numinous experiences, things like that, how it is that people who claim to have them say that they are proof of God, and how it is that people challenge that, including saying that these people who experience religious experiences are nuts and bonkers. And then finally you've got your component 3, which is the ethics component. This component is kind of split into 2 really, because we've got the study of ethics, and we will look at 4 different ethical theories. As you can see at the bottom, we've got ethical language, Aquinas' natural law, situation ethics and utilitarianism. What is quite interesting and is actually, in my opinion, the kind of the best bit of this component really, is looking at the application of these ethical theories. And what we do is we apply Aquinas' natural law to the issue of abortion and euthanasia, and we apply utilitarianism to the issues of animal testing for medical purposes, and having nuclear weapons as deterrents, and that really is getting you to explore these theories in more depth, and actually assessing their validity as ways in which we can make right or wrong decisions. So that's your ethics component. Overall, you will see at the bottom of each component sort of box, you've got a little paragraph which begins with, obviously, learners are expected to. What that is basically saying is that for each component in your actual exam, you will have the option of picking one question out of 2 for section A, and one question out of 3 for section B. Now, what that means for you, just to give you a bit of clarity now, is as follows. In the AS and in the A-level as well, there are 2 different types of essay questions. We've got an AO1 essay, which is 20 marks or worth 20 marks, and focuses in particular on your understanding of a particular topic. And then you've got your AO2 essay questions, which are worth 30 marks, and they focus in particular on your evaluation, your ability to deconstruct the concepts, and your ability to assess the validity, the relevance, the nature and the usefulness of these different things. Your AO2 essay is most, if we were to equate it to something that you're familiar with and as a sort of a marker really, it would be considered to be more like the D style questions that you've been doing for the GCSE. So that, yeah, and that's your AO2. So what that means then is that for each of these 3 components, component 1, 2 and 3, you will need to write an AO1 essay and an AO2 essay for each component. So effectively, you will have to write 6 essays in total, 2 for each component that we study, and you will get an option of, or you'll be able to select 1 out of 2 for section A, so 1 out of 2 for your AO1 essays, and you will be able to select 1 out of 3 for your AO2 essays in section B. Okay, so that's how the course is broken down. That's the key content, and that is the key assessment rubric that you will be introduced to, and that we will work on in September. In terms of how we as a department split up your time and how it is that you will be sort of taught the content, is as follows. So you will have 9 hours per cycle, so 9 hours over obviously week A and week B. 3 of those hours will be dedicated to the study of Buddhism, and that will be led by Mrs. Willis, who is uber savvy when it comes to Buddhism. And then you've got 6 hours of the philosophy and ethics with myself. And with the philosophy and ethics, we tend to swap between the 2. So we will do one topic from philosophy for, say, 3 weeks, and then we will move on to one topic for ethics for, again, say 2-3 weeks, and then we will go back to another theme from philosophy. And the reason for doing that is just so that you keep interested really, and so that we cover as much of that content as possible over the time that we have, without losing too much of the depth that we need. Okay, at the bottom you'll find that I've just written a little sort of written a little comment really that says that you will be set an AO1 and or an AO2 essay by myself and Mrs. Willis per cycle. We do work closely together and do it so that, or try to do it as well as we can, so that you do not have 2 essays due in for both of us at any one time. So we do split that between us so that that alleviates a bit of pressure on you lot. So that's your contact time. And then just key things really for those of you who've gone on to Firefly already and looked at the induction page for religion, philosophy and ethics, you will see that we've got a brief overview of the key equipment that you will need. The most important really is that you have 2 ring binder or 3 ring binder folders. You'll need one for Buddhism, and then you can either have one for both your ethics and philosophy, or you can have one individual folder for your ethics, another individual one for your philosophy. It's entirely up to you. The non-negotiable is that every lesson, irrespective of whether you've got Buddhism or ethics and philosophy, you bring that relevant folder to that lesson. I say it's probably easier to have one folder for both ethics and philosophy, so that you don't need to go, which one are we on now? Because as I said in the previous slide, we do switch between the ethics and philosophy. So if you've got just one with both of them in, then it saves you the hassle. Obviously, loads of lined paper and or pads. We will have some, but not enough to give you every lesson. You've then got file dividers. You will certainly need to divvy up the stuff that you get in your file. As you can see, there are 4 themes within each component that we study. So you will need at least 4 file dividers for Buddhism, and then 8 in total if you're going to have one folder for your ethics and philosophy. And then finally, really, for those of you that have engaged with the induction work on Firefly, it would be brilliant if you could take note of any questions, or if you've got a great memory, just come to our first sessions in September with any questions really, any issues that you've identified from the work that you have done, or the videos that you've watched, and most importantly, enthusiasm and excitement really. This is a great opportunity for you to, or for us together really, to explore some of the things that we don't talk about on a day-to-day basis necessarily, but which fundamentally have a huge impact on our day-to-day living. So your enthusiasm, your excitement, your curiosity for the subject is absolutely what we hope you will bring. And then just to finish off, there are 2 key things really that if you can do would be great. If you can't, you're not necessarily going to miss out on anything, but it's just to give you a bit of a head start really. As I've already mentioned, the Firefly page in the sixth form area, if you go to induction, and then you scroll down to the bottom left, and you will see that there is the page religion and philosophy. If you go on to that and you scroll down, you'll see that there's several video clips. There are links to some podcasts. You've then got some readings that you can do. Some of the readings are quite heavy. Some of them have been really clearly marked as optional. By no means do you have to do them, but it would be great if you could scan as much of that as you can, so that you come as best prepared with as many questions hopefully as you can generate for September. And then finally, for those of you, as I'm sure there will be, for those of you who just want to get a bit of a deeper insight really into the actual course itself and the specification before September, if you go onto the Educast website and you browse, you either type this in as I've got it on the slide here, or you browse for the Religious Studies AS level, you will find a brilliant page which will give you the specification. You will find access to the content, an actual breakdown of the content. You'll be provided with assessment materials, and it's just for you to have a browse really if you want to familiarise yourselves in advance. By no means do you need to access this, because what we will do in September between myself and Mrs. Willis, we will give you very clear guidance, and we will talk you through, we'll model how it is that you answer essays, or how it is that you write essays, sorry, how it is that you understand questions, what the assessment rubric entails, and obviously because we're amazing teachers, we will teach you the content so that you've got absolutely everything you need, and you know as much as you can. Okay, so that is it from me. If you do have any questions, then please do get in touch with myself or Mrs. Willis. One of the beauties of you doing this is that obviously Mrs. Willis being head of sixth form is a massive bonus for you, and then I am always on the other end of the computer screen, so do get in touch, drop me an email or anything. And yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing you, and hope that you're as excited as we are to get started with the course. Okay, take care, Year 11. Bye bye.